Hello and welcome to my video. Today we will be doing a problem from the book Algebra Can Be Fun, written by Perelman. This book was written more than 100 years ago, but the edition I got it from was from 1979. It's a very well-known book in Russia, and it contains many sort of word problems that requires the use of algebra to solve. So the problem we'll be looking at today is the problem of average speeds. An automobile covers the distance between two cities at a speed of 60 kilometers per hour. On the return route, the driver does 40 kilometers an hour. Find the average speed. So how can we go about this problem? Now, the simplicity of the problem is elusive. Without looking deep into the conditions of the problem, many just calculate the average arithmetic mean between 60 and 40 and get the answer of 50. 60 plus 40, all divided by 2, would be 50 kilometers per hour. But we have to be very careful. This simple solution would be correct if and only if the trip there and back lasted the same time. It is clear that the return trip, which was done at a smaller speed, must have taken a longer time than the trip there. That makes sense, right? The slower you go, the longer it takes. Taking that into consideration, we can see that 50 is not the answer. So what we'll do, we're going to use an auxiliary variable, which will be the distance between both cities. We'll call it L. I know it makes sense to use D, but L is what they put in the book. And there we go. So in order for us to find the average speed of the entire trip, the trip there and the trip back, we would have to take the total time, the total distance, excuse me, divided by the total time. And there we go. Now, but first let's look at the first part of the trip from A to B. So the speed, we know that the average speed for this part, not only the first part, only from A to B, would be 60 kilometers per hour. And that will be found by taking the distance between both cities, L, and dividing it by the time. So in this case, if we want to find how long it took to go from point A to point B, we would take L and divide it by 60 kilometers per hour. So that would be the time for the first part. It would have taken L on 60 hours. We should write the units actually, to go from A to B. But what about the second part of the trip? Now, since the second part of the trip, the average speed from B to A this time was 40 kilometers per hour. And once again, we find that by taking the distance L divided by the time it took to go from A to B. So in order for us to find the time of the second part of our trip, we would take L, the distance from B to A, and divide it by the speed, which we know as 40. And this would give us our time in hours. Oh, we should put L is in kilometers as well. Oh, there we go. Yes, let's be precise with our units. All right. So now, in order for us to find the average speed of the entire trip, we would take the total distance, since it went from A to B was L and from B to A was L. It would take the total distance would be 2L, and the total time would be, well, we just add together the times it took for the first part and the time it took for the second part. And with this, we would find the average speed. But what would that give us? So now let's add this up here. We'll do this on the side. We'll put a common denominator of 120. So we'll have 2L plus 3L equals to 5L on 120. So this would be our total time in hours. So now we have 2L divided by 5L on 120. I'll put this in brackets. Now, if you don't like fractions on fractions, what we'll do, we'll just change this into the little division sign that we used to use in elementary school all the time. Then using those, what we'll do now is just convert it into a multiplication by flipping the fraction. And there we go. And now we can see we'll have 2L times 120, 240L divided by 5L. These L's will cancel and we'll just get 240 divided by 5, which gives us an answer of 48 kilometers per hour. And that would be the average speed. And it makes sense that since the trip from A to B took longer because it was at a slower speed, that the average speed would be less than 50 kilometers per hour. Recall, for the average speed to be 50 kilometers per hour, the first and second part of the trips would have to be the same, would have to have taken the same time. So, now, when a lot of people would look at a problem like this, they would read it. They would say an automobile covers the distance between two cities at speed. Oh, this is important, 60 kilometers per hour. On the return route, the driver does 40 kilometers. I gotta find the average. So they see the word average, the key term here, let's say. They see the numbers 60 and 40, and they just go, well, I'll just add these together. But that's not taking in context of the situation of the problem and remembering that speed is not an empirical value. It is a rate. It is one value compared to the other. How much distance we travel in a set amount of time. So this is actually what we call a harmonic mean. The average speed here is not given by the arithmetic mean, but by the harmonic mean of the speeds. So, and with that, I'll end the video now. Thank you for watching, and Matthew teach you math.